Good morning, y'all. It's a beautiful overcast morning, and I was watering the garden and thought before it gets 280 degrees out here, I would do a quick garden tour. It's my first ever garden tour, so I hope you all enjoy. My name's Loanna, and this is Little Bit of Homestead. To give a reference, this is my main garden. It has 3 rows with paths in between, and I can walk all the way around. And then we added on to the second part of the yard a second garden. So while I'm watering the lower part of the garden, we'll start up here on this end. This is the first row of this garden, and from the post on, it gets a good amount of shade every day. So in this area, I keep things that like to have a little bit cooler temperatures, and I have my lettuces and some cilantro that's going to seed, and I have some celery. And over the years, I've noticed that the ends kind of take a beating on both ends. This end is worse. So I have planted a sage, and I planted just a little one of these last spring, and it has done great. And I'm getting ready to trim that up and dry that. So I wanted to get you all in here before I started trimming all these herbs, and everything looked all bare. And on this first row, I don't have a whole lot going on this side. I have one lonely potato growing down there. I had some mermaid's tail cabbage that overwintered and went to seed, and I saved the seed, so that's been taking up the majority of that space, and I just harvested the seed. Mermaid's tail is a V1. It's a third generation cross cabbage from Fruition Seeds, and it's part of Fruition's Seeding the Change project, and I'll be starting more soon because it's an awesome, gorgeous cabbage. This is getting a little spindly. It is an Italian dandelion. I grow this mainly for the rabbit. It's time to cut it back. It does not have the same medicinal benefits as the traditional dandelion, but it's full of nutrients and the rabbits love it. Us not so much. A little bit of a water feature that I have for the birds and the frogs, and they use it. And then splitting this aisle, I have some bee balm. And this fennel has been here for years, and I love it. It's hard to tell, I think, in the sun, but it gets a beautiful bronze color that looks really nice with this purple sage. The fennel is one of the favorite things in my garden, and the butterflies love it. I will have swallowtail caterpillars in here midsummer, so anytime soon, so I'll show you. And fennel, if you're not familiar with it, this is not the bulbing fennel. I have some of that over there. This is, well, it might be, but it's not bulbing. I've just repeatedly picked it. They want me to throw the ball. So like I said, the swallowtails love the fennel. Now, this, I just let keep coming back year after year, and I love it. Look at this beauty. Nature's pest control, and I never kill a spider in my garden. We installed these cattle panels last spring, and they have been amazing. I just went ahead and decided I wanted to have arches in place and the cattle panels, and that just gives me versatility. So no matter what I decide to plant in here, I can either use them or not. I have a lot of the calendula that I like to use for my skincare. I have a few peppers. I had a few things in here that didn't make it, so we're just going to put something else in there. I have a few pepper plants in containers. Along this back fence last year, I had just, I think, 3 containers, and it worked out so nicely that I decided I would just save a lot of space in the main garden and utilize all these lovely containers.
In a few of these smaller pots, I actually had volunteer tomatoes, and I'm pretty sure they're probably a cherry tomato, and I just let them go. I also have some eggplants planted in these. I have some cucumbers, basil. There's one of the little bush cucumbers. It's so cute.
And over this arch, I'm going to be doing hopefully some Armenian cucumbers and a few things that'll vine and make it look so pretty. I'd had some loofahs going, but none of them did really well this spring for some reason. Now on this end, I have another random potato. Here I have a real pretty great tomato. That on the end, and it still gives me plenty of room for all the squash to come up and do its thing. Random potatoes. I have some pepper plants, some more basil, and here I have 2 different zucchinis. I have put some diatomaceous earth around this, and I need to put some more because I saw a vine borer, squash vine borer moth. I only planted 2 zucchinis. One of them is a yellow zucchini. Every year I battle squash bugs and the squash vine borers, and no more. I will do a few things to help prevent it, but I am not going to fight it. If the plant doesn't survive, it doesn't survive. I'm pulling it up out of there. A weak plant just seems to draw more pests, so I'm going to be ruthless. Will have more zucchini plants started so that if these get attacked, I will rip them out and put another one in. But that's the game plan. I have already seen a squash vine borer, and I have placed some diatomaceous earth only around the stems, nowhere near the blooms. I try to do very little when it comes to pest control, even organically. I try to do very little. And sometimes I lose a lot that way, but it's important to me. Now, I will also probably come in with some BT, and I'll probably do a video on that here shortly, but that's my game plan. Like I said, it's the year of experiment. I'm going to do the winter squashes, and I am planting them later than I usually do. Usually I would already have them. They'd be sprawled everywhere, and the thought process is that if I don't get them out and I don't have a blue million of them putting off all their squashy smells, that maybe some of the predators will just move on. So that's my game plan. We'll see. So back down here on this end, again, my little water feature. And on the end of this row, we just came down the middle of these 2 rows and through that arch. On this end, I have some more celery, some more lettuces that are bolting. I like having the cattle panels. It gives me a lot of flexibility. I can do tomatoes, cucumbers, beans, squash, so many things, or I don't have to use them at all. And then I have the rows wide enough that I can do something else out away from the cattle panels. And these cabbages, I don't think they're going to make it. It's just too dang hot. Up until just a few weeks ago, we had this section was the previous garden fence. My husband and I removed that section and opened this up, and now I can go from my old garden into the lower garden without having to go all the way around from that gate to that gate. Huge time saver. I had no idea how much time I wasted going back and forth, back and forth. So I love it. So we added to this garden gradually. Oh, check out my Aldi's.
That's my Aldi's find. It was 2 separate packs of 3, and then you stack them, and I just bought 2 of them, and I stacked them 6 high. That's my makeshift attempt of the green stalk until I get me a green stalk. It works okay. Not too bad.
This is mint that is going to flower. This is an oregano that's going to flower. Actually, that may be a marjoram. I need to check. They're really similar. Here is a marshmallow plant. This is hyssop, and as you can see, the bees love it. More echinacea. Down in this lower part of the garden, I've added sections gradually. We didn't just come in and do it all at once, but this first section I had was blueberry bushes, and I think I had 1 or 2 more, and I've lost a few. And down on the end, I have a gooseberry bush, and I'll show you that here in a minute. And I also have a video coming out about gooseberry pie. It's a family tradition. And this has been a huge fail. Let me tell you about it. So my idea was to use the strawberries as a ground cover, and it works. They worked well as a ground cover. However, I did not get a lot of strawberries out of it. The roly-polies and millipedes got to them before I could, and then I also felt a little funny sticking my hand back in there. It felt kind of snaky. But anyway, as you can see, I've got some blueberries on the blueberry bushes, and I have not been watering them, and they seem to be suffering. But I think I grow blueberries for the birds anyway. Hopefully I can remedy that next year. And this is the gooseberry bush. All of the berries have been harvested. Look at this echinacea. You can see the difference. And it's starting to get kind of faded, but it looked a little more orange and pink. It was really pretty. I'm going to save the seed from that and see if we end up with a different color echinacea. Now that it's completely sunny in the whole garden, we're going to finish this up pretty quick. And I'm going to start from the front as you walk into the garden. It slopes downhill a pretty decent little amount. Now in this bed, I don't know if you can see, where it slopes downhill, I have added rocks. Oh, there's a weed. Dandelion. And I deep mulch. I have hay on everything. These are potatoes, and I keep just putting the hay over top of them. I have a video on how I grow the potatoes in hay. But this row is potatoes. On the back side, I have some peppers. So these potatoes will be coming out probably in another 3 to 4 weeks, and I will be planting something else in there. Not sure what yet. Maybe some Roma tomatoes. On the end here, I have some sort of blue cherry. I have 2 Cherokee purples. These are indeterminates. That means they will just keep on growing and keep producing fruit as long as they grow and don't get disease. This one's called Mountain Merit. This one is Damsel F1 Slicer. These are gifts to me from my friend Christy. Now this is, look at this thing. It's gorgeous. Now if we can just keep the squash bugs out. This one was a plant I got at So True Seeds, and it is Venetian butternut. Tomatoes planted in that, and I just tie them with twine to the trellis. And then here in the front, I have a bush butternut squash, I believe. But the goal for the cattle panel is, on the ends, I always put some sort of tomato on both ends. Usually it's a cherry tomato, and I let them just go wild on the ends. And this year, I'm growing pole beans. I've never grown pole beans before. Plan is for them to grow up that side, and on the other side I have, it's a Tunisian butternut. So I have two different varieties of pole beans on here. I don't know what that one is, and I'd have to double check what that one is, but my goal is for them to grow up over here and make it easy to pick the beans. This is my first year growing pole beans, so we'll see. I picked this up at So True Seeds. We were passing through Asheville, North Carolina about a month ago, and I geeked out so bad. It was fun. But I picked this up. They had a few starts, and I bought some seeds and some more seeds and some more seeds. You may have noticed that I have my entire garden mulched with hay or some sort of cover. The reason for that is I practice a method called deep mulch gardening, and I will be linking at the end of this video a video explaining why I've chosen to do that. It may surprise you, not only for the benefits that are obvious, but I have a few extra benefits that I've discovered as well. So when we get through with this, if you'll check that out, I would appreciate it. Now coming up, we're going to go over to the newest garden that is a really good representation of the deep mulch method. So hang on, we'll go over there when we finish up here. Now on this end of the trellis, I have an artichoke. And I have a variety of different peppers. Oh, I have some Malabar spinach too, and something is eating on that. I have some Malabar spinach there too. And the goal is to get that climbing up the trellis. But as you can see on this side of the trellis, I still have room to plant I have some peppers in here, some holy basil. I have some more basil to plant. But as the beans grow and the squash grow, the things on the inside here will get a little break from the full sun, and the peppers will appreciate that. The beans are climbing nicely. They look so pretty. And again, more cherry tomatoes on the end. Now we'll circle around and go between the trellis, and you can see that the beans are doing great, and they'll just continue. They'll catch on that trellis and vine up. Now this may actually not be tall enough for the beans, but what I've just done is redirected them back down. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. And on this side of the trellis, I have two more blueberry bushes, and they're not real happy down here. They might move.
Grow all of my sweet potatoes in containers. I have several videos on this, especially why I grow in containers, so I will link that in the description. Now this whole corner is a hot mess, and I need to get in here and do a lot of cleaning. There's too much going on in here, but I do have my asparagus growing in here, so I'm going to get that all cleaned up and plant more asparagus. This is the only raised bed I have. I grew onions and carrots. I've already harvested the onions.
So I'll feed the baby carrots and the carrot tops to the bunnies, and the big ones for me.
And this is one of my favorites in the whole garden, and that is the figs. And I have 4 bushes, and I will be starting more for sure.
Little area right here. The problem that I've found after planting the figs is they get really long roots that run not real deep. So because of the roots of the fig tree, the plan is in this area we are going to do a raised bed. That way I still can use this growing space and we won't be constantly disturbing the roots of the fig tree. So that's where one of the beds is going to be, and we'll just work around this little tomato. But we are going to put in the raised bed, maybe fill it in later. Now, after these Roma tomatoes do what they're going to do, we may put a raised bed in down here as well. So the plan for this area was to continue with fruit trees on down through here. However, I think we're going to start working on some of the fruit trees to go over into the other section of the garden. Let's head over there in a minute. And you can see I just mulch with the leaves in the fall down through here. Oh, that's my one pitiful little loofah. So that's the loop around. Now let's go check out the new section. Now to get to my third garden, we've got to
Go outside the fence. And here's my new garden.
This is the newest section of our garden. We started this garden from scratch Christmas Eve. So the end of December, there was nothing here. It was just the field like you see. All we did is we came in, we did not till. We laid down some cardboard, we laid down some old hay, and that was it. So let me show you what we got going on. Like I was saying earlier, the plan is to put the winter squash in this section. That way it can just go crazy. Since this is the first time growing in this area, I will be planting it out a little different. So catch me later and I'll show you how I do that. So if this intrigues you, check out the video where I go in depth on how and why I do the deep mulch gardening. So let me show you what else I got going on over here. I have the potatoes that I did earlier in the potato video, and I have about 5 or 6 different varieties of tomatoes here. And down here, this is more of the potatoes that I've grown in the hay. This section has not been watered except one time. Now the tomatoes have been watered twice. They were watered when I put them in, and they were watered yesterday. And same with the potatoes. I put the potatoes in and I did not water them when I planted them. But I watered everything last night really good because like I said, it's 11 degrees and no rain in the last 2 weeks. Well, that's my garden. Now check out this video of how I deep mulch garden and why. I think you'll find it interesting. Thank y'all so much for hanging out with me. My name's Loanna and this is Little Bit of Homestead.